someone might be listening and thinking, well, Layne, really, he's just telling people to, avoid ultra-processed foods and seed oils. Is it really that bad?
Yeah, great question. And what I always say is misinformation always has unintended consequences, even if the intentions are good. So I don't really care about people's intentions because Hitler had good intentions. I realize this is a non-equivalence fallacy, but the point is nobody believes they're doing the wrong thing. Very, very few people do the wrong thing and say, I know I'm doing the wrong thing. They twist it around in their mind as how it's the right thing. Now, in this case, I think the problem is you create this fear around these foods. And again, you get people focusing on the wrong things. I'm not going to have seed oils, but butter and bacon and a bunch of saturated fat is fine, and I don't have to worry about calories because it's all about insulin. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ethan Suplee, but he's a Hollywood actor who lost over 300 pounds, and he'd been on every different diet. And he said, I went down the low carb rabbit hole, and I got stuck and couldn't lose weight, and I thought it was the veggies in my salad that were keeping me from losing weight. And looking back, I feel like such a moron because it was all the oil and butter and bacon that I was having that was, stopping me from losing fat because I was over-consuming calories. And so I try to emphasize, hey, every different approach works. These people who are so dogmatic about this is the only way that can work. I'm like, do you have eyes? Because you can just go look at other people who have lost weight from every different methodology out there, And so what that says is everything works, but it's important for us to be honest about why it works, because otherwise people start making these weird associations in their heads. And I see the downstream effects of that largely in just kind of disordered eating patterns. I realize that's not like a really popular thing to talk about, but I work with a lot of people. I have worked with a lot of people over the course of my career. My wife's worked with a lot of people over the course of her career. And maybe they wouldn't be diagnosed like a DSM, but I would say that they were, had some kind of form, like 50% of them probably had some form of disordered eating or disordered eating habits. And a lot of it was based around misinformation that they had heard, and they'd formed weird associations with food in their mind. I'll never forget, I had somebody who was convinced that gluten made them fat. And they'd always say, well, if I eat a bunch of gluten, I always gain weight. And I'm like, well, when do you typically eat gluten? And it would be like, well, last week I caved on my diet and I ate a pizza. I'm like, so you ate the whole pizza and you were surprised that you didn't feel good afterwards and that you gained weight. Do you think it was the gluten, or do you think it was, the 2,000 calories in the pizza? And so I said, here, do me a favor, have 2 slices of bread tonight before you go to bed and let me know if you have a response. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm not gluten intolerant. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. So it's like people can draw these weird associations in their mind if, we're not careful about how we present the information.
Right. Yeah. It's the old case of the absolute selling and the oversimplified message. Sometimes I kind of understand where people are coming from, because I think they think if they speak with a lot of nuance, then it's too hard for someone to sort of grab a hold of. But then the flip side of that is an oversimplified message, as you say, which is then conflicting with the next oversimplified message, which conflicts with the next one. And, people just end up not knowing who to trust or believe.